My name is Jaslyn Johnson, and this is my presentation on the validation test analysis. So for starters, the purpose of a validation study is to ensure the accuracy and reliability of a method or procedure in a lab setting before using them. It also is to ensure compliance with the legal and quality standards to make sure that everything is being done correctly and the standards are being followed. It is also to improve the efficiency of lab work to obtain results quicker and be able to improve the accuracy and how quickly we get those accurate results. And it also addresses the limits and challenges, which will reduce the potential errors that could happen with that method. So being able to address those from the start and know what those are will help prevent that from happening later on in the future. So the importance of a validation study is that it demonstrates that the results from this method can be trusted and used properly. And then consistency and being able to reproduce results builds confidence, especially in crucial situations such as in a case study or a crime scene. And it also upholds scientific integrity, which is extremely important in the lab setting because they have certain standards in place. For example, one that I'll be talking about later, the ISO standard 17025, which is very important to meet. It also will reduce the risk of false results and wrongful convictions or innocent people being wrongfully convicted or guilty people not being convicted. So it goes both ways. And then it also exposes the limits and allows for improvement in the lab setting. So the study that I chose, so a little bit of background on it, I chose the validation of rapid gas chromatography and mass spectrometry, and that's a picture of it over there. I'll be referring to it as GCMS later. And so the overall goal of this validation study was to improve the efficiency of drug screening in labs, thus gaining quicker and accurate results. And it focused specifically on enhancing the output speed while maintaining that accuracy and integrity. There is a need for fast and reliable test results due to the extreme volume of seized drugs that are brought into the lab every single day. So being able to analyze those quickly and accurately is very important. So the description of a GCMS instrument, it uses a high-speed analytical approach to reduce the time needed to test that sample. And so in this case, GCMS uses a simplified sample preparation to extract the target analytes much more quicker than a more complex solution or a more complex sample. So the gas chromatography component heats and separates the different chemicals that are present and keeps those completely separate. And then the mass spectrometry component comes in and it's able to detect those separated components separately, and then it creates a spectra per component for identification. So you are able to compare those two, know the mass of the component present, and determine what chemical compound it is. So the validation tests performed on this were selectivity, which is the ability to identify the target drugs without other substances interfering. So usually a substance isn't just a pure substance when you're getting something from a crime scene or a drug that has been seized. There's going to be other contaminants in there. So being able to identify the drug that you want without identifying the other components present is very important. Precision and accuracy were also tested, and that is the ability to produce consistent results across various test runs. So being able to reproduce the same exact method, the same exact procedure, using the same samples, and get the same results every single time. Sensitivity and range was also tested, and that is establishing the detection limits and the performance over a large range of concentrations. So with GCMS, you usually are going to test multiple different concentrations, and you can get a concentration curve where then you can plug in your results and figure out what you have. And then robustness and stability, which is testing how slight conditional changes can affect the results. So how this applies to quality standards, all of these are going to refer to the ISO 17025 standard that I talked about earlier. Selectivity refers to that by ensuring an analytical method can correctly identify substances with the potential contaminants or other substances present. And this relates to that standard because it ensures that the results are accurate and reliable. Precision and accuracy ensures that the methods are producing reproducible results that can be done over and over again and still have the same outcome every time. Sensitivity and range relate to this standard because it's the ability to detect small amounts of substances. And so being able to take a very, very small quantity of something and kind of put that in solution and being able to test whether that substance is present is extremely important. And lastly, the robustness and stability demonstrates the methods are robust enough to handle very small changes such as concentration or density or anything like that without compromising the test results. So the major key findings in this validation study was that the GC-MS instrument has excellent selectivity and precision. They were able to identify very small substances in a mixture and also get the same results over and over again. There's very little robustness under varied conditions, and they did find some challenges, the main challenge being differentiating between isomeric compounds, which are the compound that has the same mass but it's different structurally. And then it showed potential to speed up drug screening without compromising the data quality. So they are able to speed up this process and do it more efficiently without ruining their results. Some major gaps in this study, like I said before, was the difficulty differentiating between structural isomers with identical mass, which are shown below. These two molecules have the exact same mass and everything, but they are very different structurally with a cis and a trans configuration. And so they had a hard time with that because mass spec is based specifically on the mass of the compound. And then it assessed short-term stability, but did not include long-term stability. In a forensic lab, samples may be stored for a long time and have to be retested over and over again. And so they didn't dive into that at all, but that might be a possibility. And it did not define any levels of uncertainty in their data, which is also very important when reporting data. And they didn't use very complex compounds, so it wasn't a very challenging compound that they were trying to find. Some improvements or suggestions would be to use GC-MS alongside tandem mass spec, which would help differentiate between those two isomers using more fragmentation patterns and how those molecules are able to break up. And then also using a wider variety of complex substances rather than very simple substances that aren't usually going to be seen. The samples that are sent in will usually be more complex. And then investigate the long-term stability and include all of their sources of error and uncertainty. So in conclusion, this validation was successful for a higher throughput GC-MS method, which can be used for drug screening. They showed extremely high levels of efficiency and reliability for analyzing these significant amounts of seized drugs, showed great selectivity, precision, and sensitivity, and it's very promising for the foundation of forensic science. And there are the sources that I used.